Hey, welcome to Saturdays with Spirit. I am Dallisa Hawking. I am the CEO of Spirit and Spark, and we come to you from the fabulous city of Las Vegas. We'd love for you to comment on this video you're watching right now and let us know where you're watching from. We know we get a lot of people from the Las Vegas area that watch, but we also get people from all over the country and internationally, so it's a lot of fun for us. So please comment, let us know where you're watching from today. So Spirit and Spark is an amazing spiritual center. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But without further ado, I want to introduce the people that are surrounding me today. Who should I start with? Oh, Jennifer. Jennifer, you're always in my videos. So tell everybody who you are.
Hi, I'm Jennifer. I work here in Las Vegas, Nevada at Spirit and Spark. And I am a psychic medium and energy practitioner, and I teach classes on spiritual development and raising your consciousness.
Perfect. Yeah, if you watch our videos, you'll see Jennifer a lot. We do psychic readings together, mediumship. We just hosted a group psychic reading last night, sold out. We had a blast, and we laughed the whole time, and it was a lot of fun. So thanks for being on today's episode.
Thank you.
Yay! Okay, Amber. Yeah, let's go to you.
Hi there. My name's Amber Frelin. I also live here in Las Vegas, Nevada. I am a quantum life coach. I am a fitness and nutrition coach and an epigenetic meditation specialist, which in short means that I help people to release trauma, reprogram their mind for multiple reasons, and just step into the life that they desire.
Yay! Thank you for being on our episode today.
Thank you.
Yeah. Jesse.
Hi, I'm Jesse Krieger, also here in Las Vegas, and I'm the founder and publisher for Lifestyle Entrepreneurs Press, and we are the publisher for The Passionate. So we work with authors that are writing on entrepreneurship, personal development, self-help, spiritual topics.
Perfect.
Appropriate, and a handful of fiction. And I'm excited to jump into this conversation with y'all.
Yeah, you and I met through Spice, which is an entrepreneurial organization that you started here in Las Vegas. And I came to a few of your dinners, and I said, come on, Jesse, come on the show.
Yeah, thank you.
So, and then you connected with somebody that's on our team, and she brought us together, and so we're thrilled to have you here.
Thank you.
And so Saturdays with Spirit, we love to talk about spiritual topics, and today's episode is going to be about harnessing your personal power. And as we sit here today, we're in this beautiful location in Las Vegas, hustle, bustle, lots of cars going by, and you may or may not be able to hear, but next door we've got some drumming going on, and that's our shaman. Because we're in a bustling business right now. But what's really cool about the drumming, I don't know if you've ever been to a shaman or when they're doing like the journeying with the drum has such a beautiful high vibration that anyone listening in today is also receiving the benefit of the drum. So it's a little added bonus for everybody that's joining us today.
Cool.
So the topic of harnessing your personal power. So when you think about that topic for today, what comes to mind? What do you think of when all these people watching out here and listening, harnessing your personal power? What do you get from that?
Sure, I mean, there's a couple of things to unpack there. One, you've got harnessing, as in like gathering, focusing, bringing together what could otherwise feel like a scattered experience of life and directing it towards a definite purpose. And in terms of personal power, I mean, when I think of power, if you're familiar with David Hawkins' Power versus Force and Human Map of Consciousness, all that is to say that power has a higher vibrational energy than force or trying to make things to happen. So I think harnessing your personal power, what I think of is how to really embody that which I'm meant to be doing and do it in a focused, directed way, as opposed to being in a state of reactivity and going wherever the winds take me or being reactive to other people's energy. Mm-hmm. It's more about staying centered, grounded, focused, and empowered, as opposed to trying to force something into existence. So that's probably the first thing.
And I think that's the show. So. No, but you summed it up beautifully, because some people they're going a million different directions, and they're seeing what they can pull from all of these different areas or people, and it can tend to make the energy very scattered and all over the place. And so this is more about how do you bring into a balanced, centered self, you know, they're saying vision, like vision of what it is that you want to do and put all of your energy and attention toward it.
And harness, I don't know if it's the right analogy, but I think of like a wild horse. A wild horse is a powerful creature, but in order to really use it to one's benefit, you have to tame it in the sense to harness it, and then it can be directed towards running, galloping, doing work, giving you a fun experience of life. And I think that's what's waiting for people on the other side of moving out of reactivity and moving into operating from a space of personal empowerment.
Yeah, that's a great point. So when we think about what Jesse was just saying in terms of kind of getting out of your own way and becoming more focused, let's think about ways that people generally maybe get in their own ways. Because once they identify where some of those blocks are or where they may be self-sabotaging and how they're doing it, once they recognize it's a pattern, then they have a better ability to change it or redirect that energy. So how do you feel people get in their own way?
For me, it's my thoughts. My mind will just keep going, and then I'll even think about the past instead of living in the now. So how do I change that? The 5-second rule. So if the thought comes in, I give myself 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, before I hit 1, I go and do it. Or I write it down, and I make notes, a to-do list, so I'm not scattered in my brain. Because that happened today, actually. And then I had to reprogram my mind.
There's a book called The 5-Second Rule. Have you read it?
No.
So there's a whole book about it, and it's exactly Mel Robbins.
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly the same thing, and it's 5, 4, 3, 2. And by the time you get to 1, you have to do the action.
Right.
So you basically just read her book.
It's channeled.
But yeah, it's actually a really good book. I have it on audio. But yeah, how else do you feel like people get in their way?
I can speak to that. I see people with a big vision, taking tons of action, knowing exactly what they're wanting to create. They have a subconscious belief system running from way back in childhood. They're stuck in guilt or shame or resentment or anger. And what I do with people is help them to go in and harness. Harness is my most overused word in my whole life. Oh, I have tried to find another word many times.
Yeah.
We're getting notes from our producer. Anyways, I think it's really important to recognize that if you have a guilt or shame program running that you don't even know about because it's buried so deep in your subconscious, you can take as much action as you could ever want to, and you won't find that you're creating results in your life. So I think it's really taking stock and looking into what's hidden deep inside, accepting it, looking at it. Comes a point where you can actually turn that pain into your purpose, and then you're soaring into the future.
Yeah. People get in their way all the time.
Oh, yeah.
All the time. I mean, we saw it even last night with some of the questions that we had at the group psychic reading. And, you know, you bring something forward about that's an old program, that's an old belief, and then they're able to recognize it and start at least knowing that there's something there that needs to be redirected. But yeah, a lot of self-sabotaging.
I mean, what comes up for me is like, you know, I think that fear or apprehension can oftentimes be an indicator of the exact direction that you need to go. And I think the things that we tend to shy away from the most is a function of whether it's the ego or past experiences that have carried over into the present, wants to keep us safe. And any time that you change, any time that you grow, that's inherently stepping outside of what's currently your comfort zone. And so, you know, oftentimes if I feel like, oh man, I'm nervous to do that, or I'm sweating, or I check in with my breath and my breath is short, those are the indicators that to me appear as, you know, that's actually something I should charge headlong into. And on the other side of that, you guys are nodding, so I'm guessing you agree with me. On the other side of that is our next level of freedom. It's our next level of embodying our own personal power. And in fact, I believe you build your personal power as you take those steps into the unknown, into an area that's inherently uncomfortable. And I would just caveat that by saying not charging like 20 steps outside of your comfort zone, because then your nervous system can react, and then there's potential negative effects that can happen from that. But one or two steps at a time, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, you've still expanded your overall comfort zone and thereby perhaps harnessed more of your personal power.
Yeah, I could just sit here and just like listen to Jesse.
I talk a lot.
I know. I'm like sitting there. I'm like, okay, what's my next question going to be? Because you say everything in a way that I think people that are listening and watching can understand. And so I'm going to put you all on the spot in a second. I'm going to ask you for an example of a way that you have harnessed your own personal power. And it could be even from years ago where, you had to reprogram something that wasn't benefiting you, but just to start getting the wheels turning. But yeah, those of you that are watching, listening, if you do have a question that you have for the people on my panel today, you can post a question and we'd be happy to take a look at that. And if it's good for the topic for today's show, we'd be happy to answer that for you. And so just post it in the comment section and let us know if there's something that you would like us to answer for you. Perhaps you're wondering how you can get out of your own way, or if you're looking for a practical tip on how to truly harness your own personal power, let us know. And if you didn't catch the first part of this, we'd love to know where you are listening from. And so just comment and let us know city and state, or if you happen to be outside of the U.S. We love our international viewers and listeners, so let us know what country you are joining us from today. And so let us know what those questions are. So as I mentioned, we are in Las Vegas. The weather here has actually been beautiful.
Getting warm.
I'm roasting right now. I mean, it feels like I'm wearing like a huge winter jacket, and I'm not, but it could be because of all the lights too.
Full party at Jesse's.
Full party at Jesse's house. So Jesse's house is called the
right
Publishing Palace, because he's a book publisher, and so he has this amazing backyard and pool. And Jennifer has already said we're all going to be there this summer.
I invited myself. I hope you don't
You're
mind.
invited. Come on over.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Spirit and Spark, we're a boutique spiritual center in the heart of Las Vegas. And we're psychics, we're mediums, we're shamans, we are astrologers, Reiki practitioners. We even have a mentee program where you can come and join us for 4 months and you learn the ins and outs of learning how to be a psychic, and then they get to audition and join a team. So our team's really dynamic, and it's a lot of fun to work here. There's always something going on. But yeah, Jennifer is one of our busiest psychic mediums on the team, so we're thrilled to have her.
I love being a part of Spirit and Spark. It's my home, and I get to be around a lot of like-minded individuals, which is nice too.
And we have a lot of fun. We call it Sauna Talk. So Jennifer and I work out at the same gym, and we sit in the sauna, and we talk about things that are channeled, and I'll send her things every once in a while and say, hey, what do you think about this? Hashtag Sauna Talk. And we save it for the sauna. So we have a lot of fun, and we're thrilled to be able to do what we do. Okay, so harnessing your personal power and stories of how you've done it. Does anybody have an example?
Well,
Crickets.
I
So
do.
Jesse's first.
Sure, I've got one. I mean, here's something practical that you can use, maybe not right now while you're watching the show, but right after it's over or anytime thereafter. In terms of harnessing personal power, when you're laying down, lay down, calm yourself, take a couple deep breaths. I like to place one hand on my heart, maybe one right over my stomach, and then breathe. Slow down your biorhythm, slow down life just for a couple of moments until you can actually feel your heartbeat. And when you can feel and hear your heartbeat, that's a place that we're not actually operating from most of the time. But from that place, you can ask for guidance from your higher self, from the divine. Ask the question that you want an answer to. And when you're in a relaxed physical state, when you're in a relaxed mental state, and you're operating from your heart, that's where I think intuitive guidance really can come in. And in that process, you'll probably start to feel more empowered if you get an intuition, if you get a piece of guidance, if you get a piece of advice or something falls into place. That's building your personal power, that's harnessing it one breath at a time.
That's a great tip. Let me ask you about before you became a book publisher, and you weren't always in the book we've never always just been in one thing, right? And so as you think back before you started your book publishing company, was there a turning point in your life where you did have to harness like the energy and redirect it towards starting your book publishing company? And if so, was there like a moment of clarity, or how did you come to that conclusion?
It's a great question. I mean, pretty much most of my adult life, I've been an entrepreneur in some shape or form, which is another way of saying, turning dreams into reality, turning ideas in the mind or something that seems exciting to do into something that exists in objective reality. So that started in music, and my first business was actually a record label to help our band have an actual career. And oh my God, at that point, more than really any time since, every day I was so far out of my comfort zone. Creative spaces, like creative industries, music and books as well, as sort of come full circle, can have a lot of passion, a lot of people with strong opinions, and I would clash a lot with my bandmates, I would clash with business partners, but I had such a strong vision. I was like, I can't not do this, or I literally felt like I would hate myself, that I would regret it if I didn't do that. So I feel like you can be driven by fear, as in I don't want to do the thing that's really uncomfortable. Let me put that another way. I want to move away from a feeling of regret, so I do the thing that I'm scared to do. And for me, a turning point to come into book publishing was the experience of writing my own book, which is called Lifestyle Entrepreneur. I've always loved books. I was read to as a young child, and going through the process and working with two different publishers, I saw the gap that existed between what most authors want, personal support, marketing focus, attention, somebody that cares, and what most publishers are in the business to provide, which is acquiring the rights to books and then selling them, and not necessarily communicating with authors that much. So we try to bridge that gap and be more of a boutique, hands-on, supportive, helping people unpack their story and get it down in a way that they can be happy to hand it out, and thereby share what can be years or a decade plus of personal experience, story, useful strategy, if you're in the nonfiction space. And it's both a daily challenge and a great source of joy.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Yeah. That's great.
Thanks.
How did you have a turning point where you decided you wanted to do more quantum life coaching? And
Absolutely.
Yeah, tell us about that.
I personally found myself staying in jobs that didn't serve me for far too long. And I had to really explore where that was coming from and step into my purpose and use energy clearing techniques to really get centered to where I was naturally downloading the ideas that were of my highest joy, as opposed to running from that and trying to force pieces to fit. So my tip would be just to really harness self-care and give yourself the gift of that, because if you're not clear and you're running around a million different things and taking care of everyone else around you and trying to take care of yourself too, but maybe like yourself is on the back burner, you just don't get anywhere from what I've seen. And so getting a really solid morning practice and nighttime practice, learning how to work with energy, learning how to clean your aura with just in meditation is so powerful. So many different ways too. And when you actually really find the way that works for you, and you at least are setting aside the time to do that for yourself regularly, you will find that you literally are just gifted profound ideas of where the next direction you should take.
Absolutely. You open the channel and you say, okay, just like what Jesse was saying, you allow the information to come through, but you put yourself in a position where you can raise your vibration to a state where you can actually get the clarity. And that does come with breath and meditation and taking a pause. Yeah. All right, Jennifer.
Well, I tried to fit into the mold. I had to hit rock bottom before I started. I literally got down on my knees and started praying. And I had the marriage, I had the kids, I had the image that I thought that would make me happy. Money, job, looking outside of myself to fulfill something that was in here. And I was like, why am I not happy? Why am I still depressed? What's wrong? What am I doing wrong? And then I literally started praying and crying to the moon. At the time, I didn't know what that meant. Now I'm like, oh, the moon. And I live this now, and I just listened. And they said, go here, start taking some classes, develop your psychic abilities, go to college. And I'm like, what? Are you serious? I don't even know what I'm doing. But I had to trust, because I knew where I was going, because literally God, higher self, the universe came to me and said, okay, if you keep living and going this way and not fulfilling who you are and your purpose, this is what's going to happen. And I didn't like what I saw. And they're like, or you can go this way. And I was like, okay, I surrender. I'm here to serve, and I'm here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, big turning point for you.
Yes.
Big turning point. A couple of the themes that have come up would be having that vision, right? And knowing, like, that's where I'm going. And you had said something about, Jesse, that, not everyone maybe agreed with you, or there were struggles or fights, but you had the vision. And so you had your vision, and so we all kind of had this idea of where we knew that we were going. And I would totally agree with that, because when I got into this industry, which was not planned, I kept getting very clear guidance that this is what I was supposed to do. And there was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And then I was getting messages from the universe that, oh, you're going to open up a space. Oh, really? That's funny, guys. And I would laugh and talk back. And then they just kept bringing it and bringing it and bringing it, where then it was undeniable that was the vision and that was the plan. And I'll be the first one to tell anybody, I pissed off a lot of people, because the vision was so strong that I knew what was working and what wasn't working. And I had to cut things along the way that I knew weren't in alignment with where the vibration was and where it was going. So it's always this kind of dynamic energy when you're really harnessing your energy and you've got that focus and you know where you're headed, and it's so strong, and you've got it in your mind, but it doesn't mean you're going to always make everybody around you happy, or that the people that are in your life right now are going to always be the people in your life. Right. Because as you're changing, the energy changes. And so I tell people all the time, you might not have your same set of friends. You might not be in the relationship that you're in right now, but it's okay, because that's where you know you're meant to be, and that's where that focus and passion and everything comes together and aligns, where then you feel like you are living with authenticity.
Right.
No doubt. I mean, what's on the...
go ahead.
I was just going to say, what's the counter side? What's on the other side of not harnessing your personal power is giving away your personal power, or letting other people take it. And I believe it's the nature of the world that if we don't own and harness our own personal power, everything and almost everything can lay claim to it. And if you're not working towards creating that vision for your own life and making it real, then you're quite honestly working towards helping create somebody else's vision for their life. And the two aren't mutually exclusive, but as long as you're in your personal power, you could lose friends. I've moved to different cities. I've gone through cycles and phases of life that seems like I've lived multiple lives in many senses. Mm-hmm. But that's how I remain upbeat, positive, happy. It's by continuing to answer that call or move in that direction when I feel so driven to do so.
Well, it's kind of the same, the saying I've heard, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Mm-hmm. And so you stand for something in your vision, you know where you're going. Otherwise, you could fall away and support other people's ideas and visions that aren't actually the one that you know you're in alignment with. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Our producer, Bishop, had a question that came in. So, Bishop, what's the question?
Question is from Tam. In regards to unharnessing, if we feel it's impossible alone, is it possible to reach out to other side for strength to jump out of the vicious cycle?
So kind of help from outside people and energy in the universe where you don't have to do it alone. Is that what you're...
That's what I'm reading from this.
Perfect. Okay, thanks, Pam, for your question. So what do you think about that with partnering up with people? I'll say that you got to make sure, if it's people, you're selecting the people that have the same vision that you do. They believe in your vision. Mm-hmm. They're right there with you, and they're along for the ride. Otherwise, I think selecting the wrong wrong people, the wrong energy could really throw your vision in a place that you don't want it to go. So partnering with the right people, I think, is an absolute priority.
Mm-hmm. And this makes me think of the law of reflection. The
Okay.
idea that what I'm attracting, what's presenting in my life, if it's triggering me, this is a little different topic, but how am I that way? So if you're reaching out to someone else and you're from a place of maybe scarcity or struggling to like a needy, I want to create this, what do I do kind of place, chances are the people that you attract will be from that same place. So I think you have to really get clear on exactly the support that you're looking for, whether from the universe or your guides or people. Become that way yourself before you're going to attract the support that you're looking for. Otherwise, you might attract the support that reflects the problem that you're trying to solve.
Ah, that's a great point. Oh, there's always little trigger people that show up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would just add to that by saying that, like, you know, on the topic of harnessing your personal power and asking for guidance from the other side, you know, I think when the vision becomes clear, it becomes clear when you're in action. And when you're in action, people can see and observe how you're acting and can choose or opt in to be a part of that movement and be a part of what it is you're creating. When I think of like my core team now, the least amount of time any of them have been with me is over 2 years, and the most is over 4. And you just simply don't stay in a relationship for that long unless there's an alignment around the vision and where we're collectively going. So it's not to give away your personal power, to partner up with others where you have a shared and aligned vision. That's multiplying your power. We can accomplish so much more, and we do, as a publishing company, than I could ever do myself. Mm-hmm. But I started by myself, working on every aspect of each book, literally going in Photoshop and adjusting stuff on cover designs. Now it's changed so much, but that's just to show an evolution in a relatively short amount of time by attracting in and, to the best degree possible, harmoniously integrating with the people that can support the vision that's true for you at this point in your life. So I hope there's something helpful in there.
I believe there is. Yeah. How do you feel about partnering up with the right people?
I feel that that's
Sauna Talk.
great. We are all together in a team, and that makes you stronger, but making sure you have the same vision. Are you?
I'm just listening. I'm shaking my head.
I just
Yes.
realized that you're doing me. Okay. On that note, making sure every relationship, it's a give and take. It's not one-sided. In every relationship, someone wants something from you, and you want something from them. But is it mutual, and do you believe in the same beliefs? But it always starts back with what Jesse was saying, started with you. And you have to do the work within. I'm regularly going to classes, and what I'm selling, I do to myself, and I believe in it. So, yeah, I believe in team. I'm all about teamwork because I don't want to do this alone, but is it heartfelt and honest and true? Communication. Love.
Oh, if you don't have the communication, forget about it. Forget about it.
Love, respect. Yeah.
Perfect. Bishop, we have another question.
Yes, this is to add on to Pam's question.
Okay.
Still from Pam. Can we gain strength from those who have crossed over as well? She
perfect.
clarified. So
Yeah. So talking from a spiritual perspective, can we get help from those loved ones on the other side? I absolutely believe that. You know, I'm 5th generation psychic medium. My grandmother and I were extremely close. She passed away a few years ago, but I will say her and I are still very close. You know, I'm always talking to her. I feel her guiding me along the way. It's funny, you know, there have been things that have happened at Spirit and Spark where somebody will be ornery or mean, and like we've had stuff like jump off the walls, and I know that it's my grandmother, like, don't you mess with her. So yeah, I do. I think that really between us and the other side, there's just this thin veil. And so they're different, but they're not dead. They're not gone forever. So You just have to change the way that you maybe communicate with them, and their response isn't going to be the same as having them at a table like this, but they're still talking back to you. It's being aware of the messages. Yeah, what do you think?
Absolutely. I tap into guides and spirit constantly, all day.
Yeah, me too. It's a daily practice. I'm of the belief, and I'd be open to hear group discussion on this too, that before we incarnate, we have relationships and we have agreements that are playing out while we're here alive. And that's, I think, when you come across somebody like the two of you are so bonded that it seems only natural that you were meant to connect at this point in life for the purpose which you're now both endeavoring in. I feel exactly the same way about my team with many of the authors that have come across my path, that it's at that time when I learn something from them, they learn something from me, and we go through emotion together. And in this case now, it's working with publishing and getting their book and story out. In the past, it was different endeavors in the physical plane, but that carries through to the other side. If somebody passed away before you, then they're waiting at the finish line. And it's just a brief moment in time that we get this wonderful experience of life, but it's far from the only experience that there is.
I would echo that. Absolutely.
I love it when Jessie talks. It's like I'm all like relaxed and zone out. I'm like, wait, what's going
I
on?
do this more often.
Yeah, we call that a soul contract
Yes.
in my world, and that's a beautiful thing. And that's not always the easiest thing, right? Some people come into our lives for some pretty tough lessons, and it's still a really beautiful thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is. It may not appear that way at the time.
Right.
I mean, Rob, you sounds like deal with a lot of trauma and things like that. You tell me if you agree, but that the trauma experience that is created is probably something that was agreed upon beforehand in order to experience something here in the world, in order to learn a lesson and move beyond an energy that may be stuck or something that may have a continuity that stretches back, long before this life.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
wouldn't change anything you said with that. Yep.
Well, then we're on the same page.
And a lot of trauma people go through happens to be guilt and shame, and that's also from soul contracts. It's hard. It's a hard statement to make, but it's so true. Everything is a contract between multiple people. I mean, I see so many people struggling with regret and guilt, and it's like really hard to say, like I said, but the people you were involved with had a mutual agreement to that experience. Now, that doesn't mean that should make you instantly like do bad things or, make any assumptions about anything, but it really does mean that you are co-creating an experience and that it doesn't have to be so painful looking back upon it.
Right, because I think the real healing comes when you can look at all of those contract situations and recognize that they are gifts.
Right.
And that the person who did that thing to you actually taught you something valuable that you signed up to learn while you were here.
The thing that comes up when you say that is harnessing your personal power. It's taking personal responsibility for every outcome and experience in
There you
life.
go.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the practice. And it's not an easy one necessarily.
Right.
But how profound is it if you can say and look in the mirror, I am responsible for everything that's happening in my life right now.
Yep.
Somebody else didn't do it to me. Somebody else isn't making me do anything. I'm allowing myself to be going in those directions. If it's something that isn't comfortable or isn't pleasant, I also have the power to change that.
Well, and imagine if everyone took accountability for themselves, it would change everything about the world.
It
If
would.
everyone did that one thing.
In short order.
Yeah. Yeah. Did we have a question, Bishop?
Okay, so she had a question and question and a comment. So her comment: I think it's hard for women to put themselves first. And how do you become more enlightened?
Ooh, okay, so let's talk about women. And then if there are any comments around just people in general and how you make yourself a priority in your own life. I think a lot of people have the struggle of kids and relationship and home life and work, and you try to balance everything. But I do see a lot of trends with clients that I see that they don't necessarily put themselves first, and they feel really guilty about doing it. And so it's the forgiveness of yourself and knowing that it's okay. It's the oxygen mask analogy. You got to put yours on first before you can do everyone else's. And that comes with choice. You've got to make the choice that that's okay and that you're okay taking care of yourself. It's that self-love, self-worth. Yeah. Anything else to add to that?
Let the woman speak to that one.
Oh, Jessie.
It goes back to conditioning. Even as a little girl, I couldn't wait to get married one day and make my husband happy. Like, I literally thought that. And I had to learn the hard way to feed myself first before I fed my children. And a friend of mine said, Jennifer, if you don't take care of you, who's going to take care of your kids? And the way she put it, I was like, oh, okay, that's not being selfish. But I had to reprogram my mind to loving myself first and knowing that that was okay.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And just the thought that you will not be as good taking care of anyone else if you're not taken care of. I mean, it's just a simple fact. And so if you're committed to taking care of clients or taking care of children, you want to give your best self to that child. You absolutely do. And so it's just not an option. You have to take care of yourself first because it really is for them.
Yeah. Do you want to jump to the enlightenment question, or do you want to take a stab at the other one?
I'll jump to the enlightenment.
Okay, perfect. So how do you become enlightened?
What I will say, and I don't consider myself enlightened, but there's a small number of people, I could count them on one hand, that I know for a fact are. And in 2 or 3 of those cases, these individuals actually died, crossed over, and then came back. And in so doing, have remained connected with the other side through that thin veil. And seeing, like, holistically, not just life on earth and our individual experience of life, but the entirety of energy that exists, is enlightenment. It's a non-dual experience. It's one of complete wholeness. And I think that path towards enlightenment isn't necessarily walking towards a bright white light and everything all of a sudden becomes magical. It can be one of shedding and letting go and peeling away. And it can be agonizing, I think, to carve away the parts of ourselves that no longer serve. Is actually a process of letting go more so than it is one of drifting blissfully towards some magical end of the tunnel. Although maybe that's what it's like. Well, I'll let you know after I cross over.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've actually studied a lot about near-death experiences. It was a topic I found fascinating over the years, but that'll be another show, another topic. But yeah, they talk about the tunnel and the light and all that. But I agree. It's more about what you're doing now in your life and not some idea that you're going to just drift into the ethers. Yeah. Oh, Bishop's got another question.
Yes, from Leslie. How do you figure out the difference between irrational anxiety or something versus irrational anxiety over something versus knowing it's something you actually just don't want to feel called to do?
So how do you distinguish like a gut feeling of warning or a catastrophic thought?
Yeah, and I think even partially goes back to how you feel in your heart, back to what you were saying about the breath and focusing on the heart and what the heart feels like. The heart's not going to lie to you. Now, whether or not you actually want to believe what your heart is saying is the other part, but if you really just got tuned into your heart and you took a few moments and asked what it is that you're supposed to do, I really feel like you're going to get the answer that's in your highest and best interest.
I'd say another aspect of that to the question is like when you get activated, that can be that feeling of irrational anxiety is something's being triggered, something's being activated, and you feel it in your body. Either heart rate jumps up immediately, you start to sweat, panic. That's moving into a state of reactivity, but it's being activated by something that causes the anxiety. So if you can create a little bit of a buffer in between stimulus and response, you can tune in more to the heart and ground yourself and say, do I need to immediately go into this sequence of events that I do time and time again, or do I choose to do something a little bit differently this time? So maybe that speaks to the question there.
Yeah, perfect. Jennifer?
For me, it's anxiety, I believe, is living in the future. I meditate, and then I connect with myself, my higher self, and then I always tell clients, do you love yourself enough to be with yourself for 5 minutes a day? Just try 5 minutes a day, and you're connecting with your higher self. And then for personal experiences, anytime I'm channeled some information, if it keeps coming through every day, like, okay, you need to do this, I'm like, okay, fine. But I see, like, is this just a thought that popped in? Or is this something that I really am supposed to be doing?
That's a great point. Definitely. We've had some really, really good questions today. Everybody that has tuned in and posted your question, thank you for doing that. You can continue to do so. We'll monitor the comments and we'll jump in and answer those. So feel free to post them in the comments of wherever you are watching the video or listening to the audio. And we're just so appreciative for all of our viewers. We have a lot of fun. We do, Instagram and Facebook Live on here. We're doing our audio recording today to share this interview as well. And I want to give everybody on the panel today an opportunity to just tell us where our listeners and viewers can find you and where they can link up with you to find more information about what you're doing. So Amber, do you want to give the audience a bit more information?
Yeah, absolutely. My name's Amber Frelin, Frelin. Friend me on Facebook. I do have a private group called the Trinity Room where we discuss the trifecta of mind, body, and spirit. We do lots of deep meditations in there. And I can be found on Instagram at Amber Frelin as well.
Perfect. Thank you. Jesse, where are they going to find you at?
My name's Jesse Krieger, Krieger. And again, I'm the publisher for Lifestyle Entrepreneurs Press. If you do a search or go to lifestyleentrepreneurspress.com, you can learn more about our publishing work, and also on Facebook.
And if you've got some folks that are out there listening or watching that have been thinking about writing their own book, you have a review process where you look for new authors. So
Absolutely.
If there's somebody listening to this and they're like, I've always wanted to write a book, perhaps they connect with you.
I would say this: if you've thought about writing a book more than once, then you're probably meant to do it. And so you could take our advice here, harness your personal power, and take a step in that direction by getting in touch with me, and we can talk about whether or not we're the right publisher for you.
Perfect. All right, Jennifer, tell us about anything you might have coming up. You've got a certification class tomorrow.
Yeah, Reiki 1 certification. It's tomorrow. And you can find me here at Spirit and Spark at www.spiritandspark.com under practitioners and make an appointment.
Yeah, you've always got different classes going on, and they'll probably catch you on another episode of Saturdays with Spirit as well. Yeah, for more information, you can go to www.spiritandspark.com. We're actually going to come out with our February horoscopes pretty soon. Virginia just finished those up, and they're really good, at least for Sagittariuses. Oh, yeah, that's right. Jesse's a Sagittarius. So, yeah, we'll be coming out with those soon, but the website's got a lot of really great information in all of our classes that we have coming up. We do get people from all over the country that come and do different classes and workshops here. So even if you don't live in Las Vegas, come and pay us a visit. And we also do phone and Skype and FaceTime sessions as well. So please keep us in mind. And thank you to everybody that joined me today.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time and your energy and being here, and for everybody that spent time with us for this recording and video. Thank you so much for tuning in. And Bishop's now going to disconnect us, but we'll be seeing you again soon. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, we're still live on Instagram and Facebook. That's fun. I love Yay!